Hello and welcome to the video. I'm Jimmy the Mower and today we're going to be servicing this Kawasaki engine. Right then, we've got this Kawasaki FR691V engine that powers our Ariens Icon 42 mower. It's a great mower, it's a great engine, it's never let us down, it's running perfectly, but it's the start of the new season, so what we want to do is give it a nice engine service to make sure we have a trouble-free season. So to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing, I've removed these little bits here. I've taken all the nuts and bolts out already. As you can see, the framework just comes away and you can see roughly what I'm doing. We tilt the seat forward over there, so when we turn the camera angle round, we can see in the back of the engine bay as well, okay? You don't have to do this to service the engine on these machines. Everything is accessible. It just makes it easier for you to see. Right, first of all, we'll start off with the air filter. Right then, to change the air filter, it's easy peasy. We've even got two little tabs there that say lift here. Just put your fingers underneath and it pops up. It's as simple as that. There's your air filter and there's the pipe that runs down and takes the clean air to the engine. Now, let's have a little chat about air filters. It's always best to get a genuine one if you can. This is one that we took out last time. It's fairly clean, so if we ever had any problems, it got ripped, eaten by mice, etc., we could pop that one in and carry on. But we have been through a global pandemic and it is a bit difficult to source parts at the moment. The parts are out there, it's just a bit difficult moving them around. So we've actually got a non-genuine one today. I'm going to fit this, we'll see how it runs. I presume it will be pretty good. However, if you want to keep your warranty and everything intact, it is best to use genuine parts where you can. All right, so I'll probably run this until we get a genuine one through, swap it over, and then this can just sit as a spare. So you want to know how to change this filter. Now, a lot of people might have seen my video before on these pipes being cracked, and that's because folks grab this, pull that up, pull the filter off, put the new one on, and that's great when it's all brand new, but our machine is a few years old and this pipe goes a little bit brittle. And when you bend it up and down, it starts to crack and the air takes the easiest route. So instead of coming in through this filter here, it goes in through the cracks in there and down into the engine and you get dirty, dusty air inside, which causes problems. So you need a screwdriver. There's a little Jubilee clip under here. I'm not sure what they're called in America, but they're Jubilee clips over here, or pipe hoses, I think, maybe in America, I don't know. But we just put that on, and you either use a little socket to get that off or a screwdriver. Undo that. Take the hose off from there. So that's all done. Okay, the filter's off, and then we've just got a thumb screw on this bit. This is why people think you just undo the thumb screw, bend the pipe backwards. It's not great, right? So we just undo that thumb screw and then the pipe comes off. We can see on there, there's quite a bit of grass around the filter and probably see in there, there's a little bit of grass and debris as well. I'll bring you in a bit closer and you'll just see my hands and I'll put the new one on. So here you can see our non-genuine filter. It's got a protective foam outer on there, which gives a bit more life to this one. The genuine ones, they have a metal guard that goes round, which does the same sort of thing, but that's on there. So that will sit in there and we need to connect this up with this. We gave this a bit of a wipe out round here, just to make sure it was clean, or fairly clean, and made sure it was clean down in there too, because that's the important bit. So this fits on like so. Just goes on there. I won't tighten that up yet. That's the thumb screw. I won't tighten it up yet. I'll just wait until we've got this in. And then there is the stop, and we'll put this, if you put this round the right way, let me work it out. Put it round the right way, like so. I've got the little screw end facing towards me. So when we clip this down, the pipe goes on over the top, sits down flush. I can lift this up and screw it in there. When this is tight, I can just tighten this one up and then that's it. That's the air filter changed, as easy as that. Now we move on to the spark plugs. So the spark plugs are situated here and over here, right? I've taken off as much of this as I can really. We've still not got a great view of these tucked away in there, but we'll bring the camera around to the side when I'm changing this one. Fairly easy to do, just pull off the cover on the top. He says as he can't get the cover off the top. That's it. Pull this off, that's out the way, and that's done. spark plug sits in there, and we've got the new ones here. I tend to use NGK spark plugs where I can. The reason why is on here they have a special coating, and it's instead of putting 3-in-1 oil and stuff into the onto the threads and going in, they have like a zinc coating on there, so it's like a lubricant in itself. So as you go in, they sort of guide themselves in nice and steady. If you feel any resistance, you know it's cross-threaded and you bring it back out. If you do feel resistance, please don't carry on with it because you will damage the engine. If you cross-thread it in there, then it's beyond my capabilities to repair it. So I have to take it somewhere else. So please be careful with that. Right, I'll just find out which size this actually is for this spark plug, and then we'll get back to you, move the camera around, and we'll take it out. Here's the spark plug over this side then, just tucked away underneath. Quite difficult to get to if you don't know where it is. It's easy to take out because you can fit a conventional long reach socket in there. You don't need an extension bar or anything. And this is actually a, I don't know if you picked that up on there, it's a 21mm socket. So it should just clip on there and then turn that round. It's only a couple of turns with the socket just to get it loose, and then once it's done, you can just undo it with your fingers. Okay then, we can see the difference between the old spark plug and the new spark plug. They're both BPR4ES. That's a recommended one for this, and you can see that's had a hard life in the last 100 hours or whatever this season. So we'll put this new one in, and we'll just put it in exactly the same way as it came out. The only thing to notice on these is on here, we've got a little compression washer. You can see this one is actually fatter than that one. That one's been tightened up and compressed. That's why using spark plugs a second time is never a great idea. By all means, clean them up and keep it as a spare. We know this one was running, so it should be okay. And then with this one, we can see it's shiny. We can see there's thickness on there. So when we tighten it up finger tight, it'll go in. We feel a bit of resistance, and then we use the socket, pull it in a couple of turns just to squash that washer in, and it'll form a great seal, and the engine will run superbly. Right, I'll pop that one in now. So just for reference then, we've moved round to the other side of the machine, and this is where the spark plug's located down here. I'll just get a spanner in behind there if I can, and just pull the rubber cover off. God, these are a nice snug fit, aren't they? Right, that's it. That's the rubber cover off out the way, and this is a spark plug. So we just changed that one exactly the same as we did the other side. Right then, we've turned the mower around so you can have a better look at this side of the engine bay. Now here's the fuel filter. As you can see, it looks quite clean. The fuel comes up from the fuel tank here, up through the fuel filter and round to a fuel pump over on this side. Now we change this at least once a season, if not twice. They're pretty inexpensive items, and they just make sure everything's running tickety-boo. To get these off, just a little pair of pliers, needle nose pliers or normal pliers, and you've just got a little clip on there. Squeeze it together and ease it down, and this should come off. Try again. That's better. So now you have to be careful. You will spill some fuel here. There's no getting around that, I'm afraid. Goodness me, that's tight. Right, I'll undo this one, see if we can release some pressure. Right, we'll lift that up there. That's it, we broke the seal now. I can see the bubbles going in. Do it. Oh, there we go. Got a mouthful of fuel there, which is never great. But there you go, the fuel filter's off, right? There's nothing dribbling back from this side, so when we take it off from this side, there might be a little bit. I think it's all returned to tank down there, or got, at least it's in the fuel line. Right, I'll pull this off. So we got the old one off then, and the only casualty was another torn glove. Right, you can see there that there's some sediment, bits of grass, and whatever caught in the fuel filter itself. So in this clear bowl, now there's an arrow on these. I don't know, you probably can't see because it's printed on the clear plastic, but there is an arrow on there, and it denotes which way the fuel flows in and out. The fuel flows in through this way, and then we can see anything that's trapped in this clear bowl. You can fit it round the other way, but everything gets trapped inside the filter and you'll never be able to tell if it's dirty or not. So we'll just put this one on. Now there is a significant difference in size. It's the same flow rate, but as I said before, been a bit difficult getting parts during a pandemic, and this is the same flow rate and we're assured that it will work. We'll put this on. When the genuine parts are available again, we'll be able to put it back, okay? So I'll just double check, make sure I've got the arrow the right way, which is there, and then we'll put that on. And that should go in fairly easy, I hope. Make sure there's plenty of plastic pipe inside there. We don't want any air leaks. And then this one should clip in over this side. And there we go. We've got the filter back in place. All we have to do now is tighten this up. Both sides. And again, these clips are the clips that came with it. You don't have to use these. You can use small Jubilee clips. You can use plastic fuel clips or fuel line clips. And then we'll lift that up. And that's about it. That's all secure. Now, there's no fuel in there at the moment. There won't be any in there until we crank the engine over and the pump will start to work and it'll pump it up and through. Right, I'll change my gloves and then we'll change the oil. Now then, we can change the oil. So Kawasaki have made it really easy to change the oil on here. We've got an oil drain pipe that's fitted to the bottom of the sump of the engine. So we put a spanner on this little bit here and a ratchet on the top, and we undo this, or a socket on the top and we undo this. There's a bolt that goes through there with a rubber seal. Once that seal's broken, the oil will start to flow. Now we can either tuck it down through the bodywork, we've got an oil pan underneath, or there's a little channel cut towards the back where this pipe sits anyway. You lay the pipe down, you can tilt the mower up slightly from the front and it'll run off the back. Either way you do it, it's great. Work a treat. Once the oil starts to flow, we can release the air pressure by taking this out, and then it'll flow a little bit faster and a little bit smoother. And then once it's all drained out, ideally it's a good time to go and make a cup of tea, because leave it for 10 minutes to drain out. Once it's all drained out, we can take the oil filter from underneath here that's tucked away and we can fit the new one on there, plug everything back together, and then we can fill it up with fresh oil. Right, I'll just undo this and we'll start it draining. Well, we've had a cup of tea and a chin wag for 10-15 minutes and all the oil's drained out of there successfully. We're going to put this plug back in now at the end of this drain pipe. Oh, he says as he nearly drops it on the floor. We'll spin that round and just tighten it up by hand for the moment. Okay, that should be tight. Now, this actually, the whole thing turns on the top, it pivots, and that's to stop you twisting it off. There's actually a seal in there, so it pivots up, right? So that's all that done. And that's tight and back together, or tight as it is by hand. Now we put the oil in here, but before we put the oil in, we need to change the filter. I've taken the other oil filter off, the old one, right? I had to use these grips. You can buy these from a lot of places, and they just clip onto the side like this. I won't do it because you'll crush the filter, and you just pull it up anti-clockwise and spin it off. Now, if we were working on an engine where we screwed the oil filter up like this, we'd fill this with oil first to make sure that we got the capacity right. However, our oil filter fits in on the side. It's down here. I'm sorry, we haven't got a good camera angle of that. We'll have to get a photograph of that in there. So it fits in like so, and we spin it on. But before we spin it on, I'll actually get some oil and I'll just run some new oil around the seal of it. So just the tiniest bit of oil on your finger. On there, and just rub it around this seal on there, and then that just helps it form a seal. When we fire the engine up, we can push that in, and that oil that is on there smeared on will just help it form a nice vacuum seal, and then the oil will be filtered in this filter. So I'll spin this back on by hand. Okay, that's tightened up by hand now. Right, I'll get the spanners and I'll just tighten this one up properly, and then I'll just take my gloves off and spin that round so I can get that in really tight, and then we'll talk about the kind of oil we put in and how much it goes in and where it goes. I've tightened everything up by hand, and then we've just tightened it up with the spanners now, so that's everything as it should be. Put the drain pipe back down there, and we're going to look at the oil. Now, we're using SAE 30 oil. We use a lot of this in the UK. It's basically 1030, maybe a little bit thicker. The reason we use it a little bit thicker is these engines, they're run on full throttle. So we started off and basically it's up to full throttle and engage the blades. So you want quite a thick oil to coat everything inside and give it some protection. It's on here specifically designed premium engine oil for generators, mowers and pumps, okay? You can use 1040, I think that's a wider range than 1030. You can use 1030 or the straight SAE 30. Whichever one you use a good quality oil because it really does make a difference. Now, I've been on the Kawasaki website and it says there's about 2.2 litres of oil in this engine. We haven't had 2.2 litres out, I can tell you that much, and you never get all the oil out when you change the engine oil. You get 90% of it out or thereabouts, depending on how it works. So I'm going to put 500 ml in 1 litre in straight away, and then we'll get the other bottle of 1 litre and we'll start topping it up, and we can just test it with a dipstick as we go along to make sure that we don't overfill it. I'll put this in now. Handy pouring spout, so no funnel needed. Okay, so we've got about 1.8 litres in there at the moment, so that's brought it up to about maximum on the dipstick. Now it says on this dipstick here, quite clearly, for correct oil level, do not turn cap on threads. So on other mowers, you put it in, you turn it, and you have to screw it down because there's quite a big difference. On this one, you don't. You just pop it in there, like so, pull it out, and we're up to the full. We're bang on the full line, right? Which is great, but we've got nothing in that oil filter yet. So we need to start the engine and run the engine and let it run for a couple of moments and then let it cool down, which is a good time to have another cup of tea, which is always great. And then we can check the oil level again, and then we can top up if necessary, okay? So that's all that done. So we're quite happy with that. So I can put that in there, tighten that up. We know that that's great to go. Now I better jump on it and fire it up. It'll take a bit to get going because we haven't got any fuel in this fuel filter. It's not come through the line yet. So when we put the seat down, we'll turn it, crank it over, crank a few times, fuel will pump through and it'll start. It might start and splutter, but once it's going and running, we should run it, let it run for a couple of moments, and then we'll come back and check the oil. Right, I'll do that now. Well, we ran it up and my goodness, it sounds as sweet as a nut. The fuel filter's full of fuel. It didn't really splutter at all. It must have just been enough left in the carb and whatever in there, and it's just pulled enough through to keep it running, so it never really faltered. We put the dipstick in, and the oil level had dropped a little bit. Not a lot. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera. Just there. It's below the full line, but it's not, you know, massively low. We'll put another 100 ml in and just top that up. And then that'll be it really. And I suppose I better jump on the seat and turn the key so you can hear it running as well, because what's the point in doing all this if you don't get to hear the engine running at the end of it? I'll just put a bit more oil in and we'll jump in the seat. Hey, how great was that then? An easy service on the Kawasaki engine. They're fairly easy to work on. All the parts are accessible. You know, it's no real bother, is it? You know, you do that at least once a season, if not twice. You're going to have a long, long life from that engine. Right, I'm going to get this fired up. I've got my mowing wellies on. Before I do fire it up, give me the thumbs up and subscribe if you can, please. We've got loads of other videos on servicing, mowers, engines, all sorts of bits and pieces. And I'll just give it a razz over and we'll see how it goes. Oh, that sounds perfect. Right, I'm Jimmy the Mower. I'll catch you on the next one.